the next site we're going to do here is our good friend Floria, who runs recognizeyourpotential.com. So one of the first things we notice, the site's not mobile friendly. So if we get into Search Console, and down here, mobile usability, if no one's got Search Console set up, I highly recommend using this tool. It can be a little overwhelming, but there's some really high-level things that you can pull from this and some insights into how Google's... If you think of analytics as your traffic overall, Search Console is your organic traffic or your SEO traffic specifically for Google. And last time I tested it, my clients, mostly in the software space, when you look at organic traffic, it's still like 90% is coming from Google. There's a small portion coming from Bing, and then it just starts degrading from there. It gets a lot smaller. A little bit from DuckDuckGo. Get a lot of things from DuckDuckGo, but we'll see. So one thing, Google indexes with their mobile crawler first. So it's really important to know if there's having any issues with processing your phone from a mobile device. Because if they're not processing your phone, if they're not processing your site, processing your phone from a mobile device, excuse me. If they're not processing your site properly from a mobile device, then they're going to have problems, and they've had split the index, I think, at this point. I know there's been talks about this where there's a mobile index, which is a lot fresher. They're going through this on a regular basis, and then there's a desktop index, which is not as fresh. I've heard the ratio of like mobile they'll go through once a week, desktop they're going through like once a month kind of thing. So when you get into Search Console, you can quickly find out if there's any issues with your page. So on this site, we did notice a few things. I have 12 here. It looks like there might have been a new page that might have been added. So it looks like it's something across the board that there's an issue where clickable items are too close together and content's wider than screen. So we brought this up in the Iron Matrix one, the content wider than screen. That's 9 times out of 10, that's an image on the site that's bigger than what a mobile device can handle. You want to have some way of handling this, and this conversation you can have with your dev. Or just resizing the images. You can experiment with that. A lot of the times, this content wider than the screen leads to clickable elements too close together because the image has pushed out the results on your phone, and that viewport is a lot different than a desktop. So the image pushing it out makes everything smaller, makes it harder for your thumb to actually hit it. I did a little bit of research on this because I couldn't remember the exact numbers, but one thing we found, what we've been reading, is 48 by 48 pixels is kind of the ideal position for a thumb to click. So it's something to aim for whenever you have something on your site that you want to process from a mobile device. So for this site, again, we'll do that inspect element to kind of show you what we were seeing. So this is the regular site. Again, inspect. I think we already had this one set to be mobile devices. Perfect. We're going to refresh just to make sure. And Android, iPhone, they're all going to be a little bit different, so it's worthwhile to process this on different types of phones. They've got a pretty good emulator. You can break it down for a Pixel on iPhone. Most of the top phones are in there. We're just going to keep it at a Galaxy for now, just because this is where we kind of notice the issue. You'll see here these menu items, the social media, they're a little bit smaller. I think when we looked at these, what percentage? We had them about 16 pixels high. And they should be just spread out. You got a little bit of real estate to work with there. So if you can spread these out and make them closer to that 48 pixels, 48 inches would be ridiculous on a phone, then your thumb's not going to hit. People, when they're using your phone, are going to be able to click on what they're trying to see. One other thing we noticed right here, this content, they're both links, and they're too close together. A little bit of spacing between the phone number and the email address is going to make it easier for you to click through, or for a user to click through. And then what you can do is after you've submitted these, let's say clickable item is too close together. Once you've tried to fix it, or you've worked with your dev to get a solution on this, you can validate the fix. It takes about, I've seen a couple days on bigger sites, a couple weeks sometimes. So tweak, validate your fix, and then you'll get an email back, whatever email is associated with the Search Console account, saying, okay, it looks like it's fine, or there's still issues, or fix it on this page, but didn't fix it on the rest of these pages, so you can dig a little bit deeper into it. The goal, again, is to make the mobile usability as strong as possible, because a lot of people, especially these types of businesses, are researching things on their phone versus the desktop. The content wider than screen, we weren't able to replicate it in any of our devices. So I would say focus on this clickable elements too close together, and then if you're still having issues, we'll touch base in a couple months if you can get this fixed. But what we've seen in the past, it's usually an image that's pushing out something else. So it could be, and like even on this one, if we go back here, there's no image that I could see that was pushing out. Usually you'd see a scroll bar going back and forth if it's something that's pushing out a little bit. And if it goes out just a hair, it's enough to set off the alerts for Google. But yeah, when we were trying to replicate this, it might potentially be this, and it's just out a bit, but we didn't see anything. Then we are also recommending, when you look at the mobile screen here, lost it, there it is, scroll up here, may want to simplify the home page and just bring, if you think about this, this is the first impression for somebody coming from your site. And you see you got a little bit of wasted space here. You got this big white spot here. We have replicated this on phones where the hamburger menu sits right along here. But I would really explore how to tighten this up and just get rid of any dead space. But at the same time, creating enough space so that email address and the phone number are clickable. But bringing up more of this content into the front so people can see it and process it and click and drive deeper into your site. It's going to be really helpful. Oh, and one other thing, and I brought this up with the Iron Matrix crew as well, is social media. It's going to lead people off of your site if it's at the front. So you want people to know how to get a hold of you on social media, but in my opinion, and unless you're really trying to actively build these social media groups, having it further down the page is going to make people process your page and get to know you better before they go off to social media. So it's generally a footer link unless you're really specifically trying to drive traffic to your social media profiles. I don't know, I can't remember if there's no social media on here, but this is a WordPress site, so it shouldn't be too hard to play with the widgets. And luckily, there's a great WordPress group that if you ever want some help from WordPress, I forget, it's like the third Wednesday of every month, I'm pretty sure. Awesome people there, and lots of free advice and help if you're using WordPress. And then Google My Business was the next thing. Let's see, recognize your potential. Floria and I have talked before, and I got her working on her Google My Business. She's really good at keeping this up to date. She's always posting. This isn't a direct signal to Google, but it does allow you to provide in the search results clicks directly to content that's outside of your homepage that would normally drive traffic. I read that Google does consider it kind of a freshness score of some sort to Google My Business, so the more you keep updating this is great. But one thing I've noticed, there's no tracking parameter, and I'm really adamant about the tracking parameter, and I've included that in there in the email I'm going to send you, Floria, and I'll post all this information as we go back and forth and release this information to the individuals. We'll put blog posts up as well, highlighting what we went through along with the video, so if people want to go back and reference things, or they want to see what this tracking parameter I keep rambling on about is. But what it helps you do is segment that traffic. So we're in Search Console. We'll know what's being driven by that knowledge panel or the things that are triggered by Google My Business information versus what's coming from your regular site. So I'm really adamant on that. As well, you have some great testimonials on your homepage, but you don't have one review on your Google My Business yet. So I'd say those people are very happy with you. It shouldn't be a hard sell. Just reach out to them and just say, hey, really loved working with you. We're trying to push our digital media up a little bit more. If you enjoyed our experience, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on Google My Business. And you can link out directly to their Google My Business profile. As far as life coaching goes, and correct me if I'm wrong. I know you're probably a little more specific, but life coaching is the broader competitive set that you're working in.
More business and life, but more business side.
Well, even let's say business consulting or coaching.
Yes.
This is a competitive space, and it can mean so many different things to different people. Mm-hmm. So if we get in here and look at the actual results, I mean, there's a couple in here that probably have some age to them. but the ones that are have reviews don't have a whole lot. So the competition's not super heavy there. This is one of those factors that Google uses. They'll use a pile of factors, but it's an easy one to influence because you already have that great network and you can reach out to those people that already have a great testimonial. Looks like 3 is the highest, so if you get 4, you've checked that box. And then things like age, you can't handle that. That's how long the listing's been around, how old the website is. That just comes with time. And then other factors like backlinks are part of a bigger SEO strategy. Just one of those factors you can easily influence right away. And then as far as top driving traffic, you're ranking fairly well for superpower mindfulness. So there's a blog post here about mindfulness a superpower? Mm-hmm. Just open it up. It's got some, I call these like this is a striking distance position right here. So superpower mindfulness. The competition, this is a score out of 100. This is like domain authority that we were talking about earlier. It's not a Google metric. It's just what third party is using as a measurement. So we get an idea. But position's 11. Striking distance is usually the bottom of the first page or the second page. The cool thing about striking distance, it means all the signals are there for Google. It's just a matter of a few little tweaks to kind of bring yourself up. And so with that in mind, we thought this was a great opportunity with this one blog post to try to get it ranking, specifically for superpower mindfulness. But there was an why mindfulness is a superpower. So got a little bit more search volume, 50 versus 20 of the one you're ranking. You're in the 60th position, so 6th, 7th page. It's a bit of a dead zone, but since you're already ranking well for this superpower mindfulness, which is just basically kind of reworking that sentence, I believe there's an opportunity there, and I think it's worth exploring. So we dug a little bit deeper into this page. So everyone can see this is the page right here. Some opportunities we saw. The title's really long, so I'm going to run this through SERP Sim, which I've mentioned as well. Great little free tool. You can fetch a URL. What it does is it does exactly what it says. It simulates the SERP and search engine result page, and you'll see right here mindfulness power goes into a little bit more details, but it's truncated. Now it's not a penalty, but it's not really. There's some opportunities here to optimize this title, and if you actually look up here to what the title's being pulled in, I'll try to. There's quite a lot of text there, and it looks like you're probably generating a lot of it with variables within Yoast, I think is the WordPress plugin you're using for SEO, which is a great plugin. It's pretty user-friendly for people that aren't as technical as well. Don't get obsessed with trying to get all gold or all green. But this is a little bit long, and what we're recommending for a title, something that would be a little bit more, a little more refined. I'm just going to copy over so you can see. Oh, no, excuse me. Why mindfulness is a superpower? Floria, RYP. We didn't do recognize your potential because it's just so many words in your company's name. You might be able to tuck it in there if you got rid of your name, but I know if you guys don't know Floria, you're probably going to know her by the end of today. So she is her brand, and I think it's important for you to keep that as part of it because I think that's definitely part of it. Recognize your potential. I think RYP works. If you ever go through a branding exercise, you want a nice little logo, RYP. I like it, but nice and straightforward. You're asking that specific question right away in the title, and people are asking this question. 50 people are asking this question a month, and there's not a whole lot of competition there. So there's a possibility that you could get people that are curious about mindfulness into onto your site, and then you could potentially convert them into a paying customer. Or if anything, you'll just get them referencing your site outside if they like your article, and then providing you with backlinks, which is increasing your authority, et cetera, et cetera. And the top results we were noticing as well are video content. So if we were going to search this specific phrase again, and I'm going to run a search in here. It's biased, just so everyone's aware, because I'm not doing incognito mode as well. There's always going to be some sort of bias to your internal searches. If you're searching something to test something out, it knows your history. It's taking your location into consideration. That's why when you're getting into SEO, a lot of people like to use third-party tools. You're trying to get a clean search result because this is great from a user experience. I want them to know my history. I want them to know what I clicked through before. When I'm asking questions about mindfulness, I want them to know my intent behind it. But just something to keep in mind. I still think it's really powerful to run a search and just see what kind of results are here. So videos are dominating the top of this result. So I would suggest you have some video posts on your YouTube channel about mindfulness, either referencing that video content on that page that's talking about this mindfulness, or creating something new that's specifically answering this question of why mindfulness is a superpower. And I know you got a lot of content on this, Lori, and a lot of great ideas on this too, so it shouldn't be hard to churn out that kind of content. Now we get into a little bit more like the technical errors and whatnot. We have a few 404s. 404, if people aren't aware of status codes, the 200s mean everything's okay, your page exists. The 300 range means we're redirecting it, and there's variant ones. So 301 means it's a permanent, and then there's all these other ones. I think 302 is a temporary. They all have their use. 301s, you'll hear SEOs talk about. 404 is an error. Basically means this page no longer exists. 403 is a page that doesn't exist temporarily, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But we're getting a couple 404s on this. So if we go to, let's open up these pages here. We want as few broken links as possible. This one looks to be a specific, oh yeah, I know where this one is right away. So the URL, everybody see my mouse? Just disappeared on me. There it is. Okay. The link in here, so this is there's a logo linking out. This is a common mistake. I don't know if you guys can see, there's an image class. The link is theatlanticinstitute.org. SEO pop quiz. Anybody see something wrong with this link?
It's hard to see it, but
I know, it's really hard to read out of there, guys. I'd zoom it out, but it just ends up being a bigger, fuzzier version, like a bigger, equally fuzzy version. All right.
tell us.
I'll give it away. There's no protocol at the beginning of this.
Right.
So if you just have a chunk of URL in here, it thinks this is a page that exists on the site. But this is meant to be an external link. So technically, this goes to a page that is that URL, people I work with, --, and then it fills in the rest of this. Put in the protocol of HTTP : or HTTPS : / we'll take it off-site and make it go to an external link. So as the bot's going through, the Google bot's going through and trying to figure out what's on your page and how it all correlates with things, when it finds an error, it's just kind of like, okay, mistake. If it keeps seeing errors and errors and errors, it's just going to stop paying that much attention. Because to anybody outside of it, I mean, it's a smart bot too. It's getting smarter with time. It will, if you're too big to fail, and I've seen this a lot, like bigger brands, they can have mistakes all over the place, and they're just going to do well because there's so much brand awareness behind them. But if you're coming up, if you're a smaller business, and paying attention to this kind of thing, you want to make the bot's job as easy as possible so that it can process all of its information you want it to process and bring up in search results information that makes sense related to your site. I'll listen to it again. There we go. So yeah, back to the mindfulness power page. I think if you ask this question specifically in, let's get this. So asking that question that we were talking about before, why mindfulness is a superpower, I would go for exact phrase. You're almost there with this. It's just a matter of moving that is over. Just because this specific phrase doesn't have any search volume around it, but why mindfulness is a superpower does. It changes the intent slightly, but not really a whole lot. And I think it works with the content. One other thing we noticed on this is an H1, but then as well, this is an H1, and this is an H1. When you're thinking about H1s are headings, and when you're thinking about headings, you want it to be structured like there's a main topic, and that's your H1, and then your secondary topics are going to be secondary headings. It adds a little different weight to things. So you get your main subject and then secondary content. So having multiple H1s it can be a little bit confusing for the bot. They don't put as much emphasis on headings, but you want to create, again, the clearest possible explanation of what your content is. So the main topic is if mindfulness is a superpower, the secondary content is what is mindfulness, what are the benefits of mindfulness. These are all marked up as H1s. As the bot's going through it, it's like, okay, the main subject's this, no wait, the main subject's this, no wait, the main subject's that.
Okay.
So by doing it in a clear structure where you've got a hierarchy and it cascades down, you can, you're just clearly providing direction on what's primary subject and what's secondary subject. So there's some, this page right here, again, there's some insecure content on here which could be affecting things. If you look right here, you can subscribe. Inspect that element again. We're probably not going to be able to read all this wonderful code because it's not. So your site is secure, which is great. Google gives a little bit of priority to a secure site. Doesn't mean you can't rank an unsecure site, but if the competition's secure, you're probably going to lose ground, and you could potentially get flagged as being an insecure site, or if you have mixed content. So in this case, secure site, but there's one link that leads to the homepage that's insecure, so it's got a mixed content. So in which a bit of a flag, because if you're secure and you're sending people to insecure, the bot doesn't like it necessarily. And it's just a link back to the homepage. This one's talking about subscribing. I assume you did that because you do have that pop-up on the homepage. Mm-hmm. If you have a dedicated page to subscribing, I would drive it to that page, but I would update it to be HTTPS.
Okay.
Didn't find a whole lot of insecure content. It just happened to be on the one page that we were focusing on, and we thought there was a good opportunity as well. You know what? We're at 1:30. I have a handful of other things. Most of them are a little bit more technical, and I'll include them in an email off to Floria. And once we've gone back and forth, I'll release this to the group as well. Questions, hopes,
Thanks
concerns.
a lot.
We have the room till 2 too, so I can chill out for a little bit. And if anybody has any other questions, I'll get Kevin first, and you have to have that team.
How often you talk a lot about the Google bot? How often does a Google bot like this? I don't know how many websites there are, and it's constantly evolving.